Matul il-kriżi tal-coronavirus, il-Fondazzjoni EU qed tappella għall-għajnuna tiegħek sabiex tkompli xandar ir-rożarju u l-qudies ta' kuljum flimkien ma' xandiriet oħra reliġjużi fuq it-televiżjoni u online. Peress li matul dan il-perjodu ta' kriżi ma nistgħux niġbru reklami u l-ispejjeż dejjem jikbru, qegħdin nappellaw lilkom telespettaturi sabiex tgħinuna inkomplu nxandru. Bid-donazzjoni tagħkom tkunu qegħdin tgħinuna sabiex inwaslulkom il-Knisja fid-djar tagħkom. ċemplu fuq 51-50-2025 għal donazzjoni ta' €5 jew fuq 51-60-2042 għal donazzjoni ta' €10. Nirringrazzjawkom tad-donazzjonijiet tagħkom.
Siamo sicuri che questo a che ora iniziava?
Alle 8:30, sono i 37. non devo andare a insegnare orale, non sono circa.
Illum l-erba
Matul il-kriżi
għal
tal-coronavirus
programm ieħor tiegħi Simon Mercieca jiddiskuti. Niskużaw ruħna għal dan id-dowmien biex bdejna trasmissjoni llum. Naf li hemm numru ta' nies qed jistennew din it-trasmissjoni minħabba li mieħe kolli tnejn min-nies li huma magħrufin fil-qasam li ħankun qed niddiskutu llum vordiri il-vaccin, il-injections, it-titqiba u l-coronavirus. Furlum mieħe kolli l-Dr. Stefano Montanari u l-mara tiegħu Dottoressa Gatti. Kien hemm anki numru ta' reazzjonijiet meta jinħabbart minn ħajkolli miegħi huma żewġ persuni qegħdin qed tarawhom magħna ta' portata internazzjonali. Ovvjament bħali jħobbu l-kontroversja jew idaħluna fil-kontroversja li x'neħdu pożizzjonijiet li mhux bil-fors ikunu mal-mainstream. Ovvjament jien m'għandi l-ebda pożizzjoni, ħankun ċara minn qabel fuq il-COVID-19 li jiena kontra it-titqiba u laqqas favur. Jiena dak li jiena favuru li nagħti vuċi lil min lil kulħadd biex jitkellem. Vordri bl-ebda sens da il-programm għax ħajkun hawn studintu lil Dr. Stefano Montanari minħabba l-pożizzjonijiet tiegħu fuq it-titqiba li huwa għandu pożizzjonijiet differenti minn dak li ħafna għandhom, forsi huwa kontra ċertu elementi, issa nkunu qed nitkellmu miegħu fid-dettall. Miegħi wkoll f'dan il-programm għandi lil Dr. Rudolf Fragonesi, li ġieli kien miegħi wkoll fuq dan il-programm, għandu pożizzjonijiet tiegħu ukoll fuq l-issue tal-coronavirus, tkellem ħafna u tkellem ħafna b'mod qawwi kontra numru ta' miżuri li qed jittieħdu anke mar il-qorti dwarhom għax iqis li huma illegali, ultravires kif jgħidu jmorru lil kontra il-liġi. U fuq daħan konna nitkellmu. Ma Dottor Montanari li kif qed qabel huwa persuna internazzjonali isegwuh u kien anki kritikat anki mill-BBC vordiri għaliex il-vuċi tiegħu qed tasal għax kif kull BBC ma tikkritikakx. Kull vuċi tiegħek ma tasalx, ma jagħtux kasek, ħajkun qed nitkellmu kif qed qabel fid-dettall. Montanari ħankun qed nitkellmu miegħu ħajkun qed ikellimna bit-Taljan, kemm jiena u kemm Rudolfo, Dr. Ragonesi, ħankunu qed nagħmlu it-translation tat-Taljan. Buonasera, Dottor Montanari, buonasera, Dottoressa Gatti, mi scuso.
Buonasera.
Mi scuso per il ritardo per cominciare questa trasmissione perché abbiamo avuto una piccola problema tecnica. Qua è un piccolo stazione, ma una stazione che ha anche un grande voce. La stazione della scorsa settimana abbiamo parlato sulla chiusura delle chiese, adesso il governo ha reagito e ha aperto anche le chiese, il vescovo ha reagito, ha aperto per quello che stava succedendo, nel senso anche che siamo piccoli, abbiamo anche una voce forse che si sente. Da parte mia la ringrazio per la vostra presenza, anche per aver accettato di essere con noi, con me e il dottor Ragonesi. Lo so che il dottor Ragonesi lo conoscete, io per me è la prima volta che parlo direttamente con voi. Lo so che siete anche personaggi di portata internazionale oggi perché le vostre posizioni erano anche criticate, anche fortemente criticate anche dal BBC. Per noi è molto importante come ex colonia britannica perché seguiamo quello che sta dicendo il BBC, per noi è anche una stazione importantissima, ma per me la vostra presenza anche di parlare un po' con voi, prima di tutto sulla vostra esperienza, perché il dottor Stefano Montanari è laureato in farmacia e ha avuto anche i numeri consulenze scientifiche e oggi specializza, se non sbaglio, in nanopatologie, no? Sono esatto nella terminologia, io sono storico non medico. La dottoressa Gatti è Experimental Physics and Biomedical Technologies. Esatto. Siete un fisico, una fisica più, diciamo, è una persona laureata in medicina, in farmacia. Perché avete preso la posizione che avete preso su questa questione e che è la vostra posizione? Ti do la linea.
Noi non abbiamo delle opinioni, noi abbiamo solo dei fatti, quindi quello che diciamo noi è assolutamente impossibile da contrastare, perché sono fatti. E allora...
Scusatemi un minuto, perché devo fare la traduzione, ti prego facciamo 2, 3, 4 sentenze, dopo traduco così la gente può seguire quello che state dicendo.
Ma la gente parla inglese?
A Malta sì, più parla inglese maltese, ma la mia generazione di 40 anni in poi, io ho 53 anni, ma conosce un po' l'italiano, perché ho studiato a scuola come il fatto mio o perché seguiva la televisione italiana. La generazione più giovane non segue più non tanto la televisione italiana, perché oggi insomma vedo anche dalla mia famiglia vedono più la televisione internazionale, che significa vedono più la televisione americana a causa del sistema.
Se vuole posso parlare in inglese.
Come vuoi tu?
No, se per voi è più facile posso parlare in inglese, altrimenti parlo in italiano.
Sì,
No,
certo. No, in inglese
se parli in inglese meglio.
è meglio, sì.
Okay.
Perfetto.
La traduzione, no?
Va bene, perfetto.
Grazie.
Bene. So what I was trying to say is that we've got no opinions, we've got only facts. And so if you want to contradict us, you have to contradict us with facts, not with opinions, not by saying that we are wrong and that's all. Because when you talk scientifically, you are in a scientific field, you must accept the scientific rules.
Yes, but excuse me.
Rules are very strict.
Yes, but let's introduce you to the Maltese audience. What are your facts? Because
Facts are, for example.
No, your facts about COVID. Let's start immediately from the subject.
About COVID. So let's suppose that the virus exists. We have never seen it. We have never isolated it. But let's suppose that it exists like any other virus. There are billions of them in the world. There are billions of them in our organism, in our body. We live happily, we share happily our lives with them without any problem. So most viruses are harmless, absolutely harmless. So there is no problem. So let's admit that this virus exists. So let's admit that it is pathogenic. That means that it induces disease, illness, pathology. If that is a fact, so let's suppose it is a fact, you have to oppose that virus, you have to fight that virus with the weapons that science offers. And what science offers is experience. It's an experience that dates back to at least the beginning of the 16th century, when the Spaniards invaded South America, and they brought with them some diseases which were pretty common in Europe, like flu, for example, like rubella, and they were more or less harmless in Europe. Whereas in South America, they were lethal. They killed people only because people were not accustomed to that. People had no antibodies to oppose those viruses and those bacteria. So, after about 500 years, South Americans can bear flu, can bear rubella without any problem, just because they grew accustomed to them, to those diseases. So the only way to fight against a disease caused by virus, caused by any other infectious agent, is to have those agents circulate. That is something that we have known for about 500 years. So if you keep people confined in their houses, they cannot gather together, for example, in churches or in stadiums or in public road or in shops. You just play the game of the disease.
Therefore,
that is something that we have known for 500 years.
Therefore, what you're suggesting here is that the solution for any type of flu, before we'll talk about the virus, is that we go for herd immunity, as it is called. Is it so or not?
Absolutely, but it's not. There's nothing new in what I say.
Yes, but what is new in this case is the fact that this herd immunity, until we reach that level, is killing people. Last 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine died of COVID, or call it what you like, but died of COVID-19. And I don't think he was joking, because people phoned him, talked to him, obviously had symptoms now, which we associate these symptoms with COVID-19, and these are facts, not opinions.
No, they are not facts.
It's a fact he died. Come on, it's not. You cannot say that's not a fact.
The fact is that
And also had the symptoms and was suffering. That's also a fact. And those sufferings were not normal for him. That is also a fact.
Yeah, the fact is that they died, but not. The fact is that they are not dying from COVID. They are dying because medical doctors can't cure them. Because this is a regular, normal influenza. It's a flu. So if you keep giving them wrong drugs, if you keep administering oxygen to them, you kill them. You just kill them. So they are not able to cure people. You know, in Italy we have medical doctors who took care of patients in their houses, in their homes, and none of them died. Thousands of them they die only in hospital. They die only because of wrong therapies. That is a fact. Because at home nobody dies.
Can just give me one second so that I can translate the directionist telling me, please give a summary of what you said in Maltese, and then I will immediately come back to you. Li qed jgħidilna Dr. Montanari huwa li hu ma jitkellimx fuq opinjoni u jitkellem fuq fatti. U wieħed minn dawk li isostni li l-COVID-19 ma jeżistix. Jiena staqsejtu kif ma jeżistix, jiena kif tkellimt il-ġimgħa l-oħra, ħabib kbir tiegħi miet bil-COVID-19, qed ma staqgħet huwa fatt li l-COVID-19 jeżisti, biex hu r-ribatti li għandna bħalissa huwa flu oħra li ikollna minn żmien għal żmien u li qed jiġri qed ikun hemm wrong diagnosis, no?
Le mhux hekk qed jgħid.
Hekk fimtu?
Hija Le, u qed jgħid, mhux qed jgħid li l-COVID-19 ma jeżistix, qed jgħid li s'issa ma ġiex iżolat, ġifieri jista' jagħti.
Le, u qed jgħid il-virus tal-COVID-19 għadu qatt ma ġie iżolat.
Ma ġiex iżolat.
Nistgħu ngħidulha x'qiegħed magħna. U qed jitkellem li hawnhekk qed nitkellmu fuq flu. So I am right, Dr. Montanari, in stating that you have affirmed that the COVID-19 does not exist. What exists is a normal flu.
No, I've never, no, You said that.
Okay,
I
but
just said
therefore-
that. No, I didn't say that it does not exist. I say that we haven't seen it, and I don't know anybody that saw it, but it has no importance. We said that we suppose it exists, and if it does exist, we have weapons.
But what we're saying, when you suppose if it does exist, you're showing doubt that it exists, no?
Yes, of course.
Therefore, I'm understanding you well.
Usually you can isolate the virus and you can see under transmission electron microscope. Can you show me these images? No.
Yeah, you know what people show on TV is not it's not the virus. It's the capsid, which is the box that contains the virus, and it's not a photograph, but it's a drawing. It's an artistic rendition of the box that should contain the virus. But it has no importance. What we say has nothing to share, has nothing to do with the existence of virus. So we just suppose it does exist. That's all. It has no importance to us if it does exist or if it doesn't. So what we say is that the way they use to fight that virus is wrong. It's wrong from the scientific point of view. And we have known that it is wrong. We have known it for 500 years at least. That's all. So I'm saying that politicians, doctors, journalists are ignorant. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, therefore, what li qed jgħidilna u xek, naqblu Rudolf, li qed jgħid irrelevanti jekk jeżistix jew le, li qed isir hija wrong diagnosis. Qed nifhem sew jew le?
Le, il-prognosis huwa żbaljat, mhux id-diagnosis. Id-diagnosis qed jassumi illi saqat il-każ illi hemm virus ġdid, illi huwa perikolus. Ġifieri dak mhux qed jiġi kontestat, issejjaħlu COVID-19 xi ħaġa oħra. Hija tip ta' coronavirus, ġifieri mhux l-ewwel tip ta' coronavirus. Imma il-problema hija fil-prognosis, ġifieri inti treatment tagħha. Jekk inti l-ewwel nett trid taħdem fuq il-bażi ta' natural herd immunity u mhux tipprova tirribatti in-natural herd immunity billi żomm in-nies id-dar, eċetera, eċetera. U t-tieni trid tara x'tip ta' treatments qed ittihom għax hawn ħafna treatments forsi jista' jispjegana wkoll u illi qed jużawhom iktar u iktar fid-djar. Mentri fl-isptarijiet forsi mhux qed jużawhom u l-biċċa kbira tal-fatalitajiet qegħdin isiru f'ċerti sptarijiet fl-Ewropa fejn mhumiex qegħdin jagħtu dawk it-treatments dak li qed jgħid.
Per eżempju, for example, in Malta, we had situations where patients with coronavirus died at home. Because you stated that it's better at home than in hospital. And there were patients with this disease, call it what you like, let's call it coronavirus, not a problem about that.
Of course.
Okay? They needed to be sent to hospital because they felt that they were suffocating and couldn't stay at home.
Yeah, but to say everything, Simon, before Dr. Montanari can comment, to be clear, there has been a policy here that if someone is feeling unwell at home, doctors have been given instructions not to go and visit the patients. So these patients are at home, not knowing how to treat whatever ailments they have, because the doctors are refusing to come to make home visits because that is the order coming from the public health authorities. And therefore, when sometimes they get their sickness gets out of hand, they are forced to go to hospital. So this is the situation.
Yes, but there were times that the people felt so much suffocating that they needed to go to hospital.
Yes, but if a doctor had made a house visit immediately,
It is the end of the problem. Because when you have the first symptoms of this flu, of course you must You must give something, not to leave the patient
Yes.
alone at home, only with tachypyrina.
Yes, there has to be some treatment.
The right approach to the disease.
So the problem is that most patients suffering from that virus have suffer from pulmonary thromboembolism, a sort of disseminated thromboembolism. We've known it for about, let's say, 150 years. It was discovered 150 years ago by a French doctor called Armand Trousseau. And when you have a pulmonary thromboembolism and you administer oxygen to the patient, you just kill it. You know, I personally worked on the problem for 20 years, and I know it pretty well. And what doctors do in hospital is something that is absolutely wrong, and it kills the patient, because if you blow oxygen, if you pump oxygen inside the lungs, and the oxygens have no way to be transferred to the blood, because the blood doesn't reach the lungs. So that oxygen goes to the pulmonary tissue, to the pulmonary parenchyma, and it kills it. So it burns. Just to be simple, it burns the lungs. So what they do is they simply kill the patient. That's all, because they don't
Therefore,
thromboembolism.
You're talking here, excuse me, you're talking here against the ventilators. I'm right?
Absolutely,
Yes.
because it's the best way to kill a patient.
Not only because this virus replicates in faster with oxygen. So you
Make it worse.
You help the virus, and you blow up the lungs, and there is no way for the oxygen to move to the blood, and so you burn the lungs. But that is something that we have known for at least 50 years. So there is nothing new. The only problem is that medical doctors now are very, very, very ignorant. They don't know they don't know the simplest pillars of medicine.
So regarding the treatments, what treatments are you aware of that have been used either in Italy or in other countries
Successfully?
that have been seen to be successful?
Heparin, if the thrombus has not formed yet, and when the thrombus has already been organized is the technical term to say that it's sort of ripe. Heparin has no use because it doesn't work, and you have to use urokinase. That is something that we have known for at least 50 or 60 years. There's nothing new. So either heparin or urokinase, depending on how old the thrombus is. That's all.
Just give us. Can you make a small?
Vitamin C is absolutely useful, because vitamin C, ascorbic acid, is one of the most active antivirus agents we know. The only problem is that it costs too little. So there is no interest for pharmaceutical industries to use ascorbic acid because it's too cheap.
Here in Malta.
Namlu translation tamela inti, daqxej. Rudolf, għal-minet jismana.
Yes.
U li għet jgħidinna weku li pratikament wieħed mill-aħjar metodu biex wieħed jiġġieled dat tip ta' virus bħal kwalinkwa virus ieħor huwa li wieħed jieħu l-vitamina C. Il-vitamina C ma nisbaljax toħodha bħal l-orange u s-sitrus.
Ma high doses.
High doses, yes. Ma biex wieħed jifhem eżatt x'inhu jgħid. Fordiri imma qed jgħid li biex tipproduċija tant kemm hija ma tiswa xejn ħadd m'għandu interess il-big pharmaceuticals li jagħmluha. Din hija l-pożizzjoni ta' Dottor Montanari biss huwa wkoll huwa fatt li l-vitamina C hija vitamina importanti fordiri dan il-qasam.
U mbagħad semma żewġ treatments oħra, imma ma ħadx l-ismijiet
Aspirin naħseb l-aspirin bl-Ingliż.
Can you repeat the treatments that you recommended depending on the stage of the problem in the lungs? Because I'm not familiar with the technical terms.
Yes. So, if you fear that thrombi are going to be formed, to be constituted inside the veins, because now we are speaking of veins, because it's the venous blood that reaches the lungs through the lung arteries. You administer heparin. That is something
Heparin.
that every doctor should know. If the thrombus has already formed, technical term is organized, the thrombus is organized, heparin doesn't serve, has no use, it's useless. When the thrombus has already formed, you use urokinase or streptokinase, but urokinase is more active. And urokinase, like heparin, is something that our body produces, but it's not produced in a quantity that is sufficient to fight the problem. So you have to inject heparin or inject urokinase. I've done it for 20 years to our patients, and we never had any problem because it's something absolutely normal in medicine. For example, people who has a fracture in their legs, in their arms, they use heparin because a fracture causes the formation of thrombi. If you have heart fibrillation,
excuse me.
You use drugs that prevent the formation of thrombi.
Excuse me, Dr. Stefano Montanari, you're talking about thrombi. This you mean blood clots, no, in common terms, or not? So for the people to explain.
I do.
Blood clot.
Blood clot is not the
medical
term.
It's
Yes, for the people who are, because in Maltese it is thrombosis, it's still,
yes.
it's totally.
Can I ask a question? Is it normal that viruses can cause these blood clots or thrombosis?
Yes. Well, it's a fact, and it's even pharmaceutical industries have to declare it in their technical sheets. They write it that one of the problems of the pathology is the formation of thrombi. They declare it. EMA, the European Agency for Drugs, has published it. So there's nothing new. Well, what is new? Well, the fact is that they declare it now. I started to say that thing in February 2020, so more than 1 year ago. But now they had some delay, but at the end they reached the goal. And they realized that the problem is thrombosis.
But not only, we supposed that there were also other factors of co-lethality of these pandemics. Probably you know that in the north of Italy there are 3 cities, Bergamo, Brescia and Milan, and in that area there was the highest concentration of
cases.
People. Yes, and we supposed in 2020, in February, that the environmental pollution, that it is very important, could help this phenomenon. Because when you have this pollution inside the blood circulation, plus the virus, the formation of thrombi is hardest, and it is very important. So for that, we asked some autoptic samples of the people died from coronavirus. And immediately we had a positive answer from the hospital Papa Giovanni XXIII of Bergamo. But after 3 months, the director, the president of the hospital, declared that they are not interested to analyze these thrombus, these autoptic samples.
Okay,
What
so
they cremated, burned the corpses.
Hanna, 1 minute.
shall we translate?
Yes,
Okay.
summary.
Yes, mela.
Mbagħad wara naqralu xi messaġġi li rċevejt ukoll.
Yes. Mela, li din jgħidu il-xjentisti li għandna llum huwa li
Nispjegawlhom ukoll. Wieħed huwa Stefano Montanari u s-sinjura hija Dr. Antonietta Gatti li hija l-mara tiegħu.
Iva,
Fil-mediċina, waħda mediċina u waħda fiżika. Le, mediċina.
It-tnejn li huma xjentisti rinomati ħafna ġewwa l-Italja. Ġifri l-credentials tagħhom huma mhumiex dubitati. U li qegħdin jgħidu li bażikament il-qofol huwa illi ħafna il-biċċa kbira tan-nies illi kienu din jimordu dis-sena kellhom bħala kawża waħda mill-main causes kienet il-thrombosis, jew blood clots bl-Ingliż biex niftehmu, it-trombosi bil-Malti. U għalhekk kien hemm ħafna problemi kbar. Sija Malta nistgħu naraw fil-każ tagħna kif ukoll barra minn Malta, jekk ma kienux qegħdin jiġu treated it-trombosi, allura kienu qegħdin jippruvaw ifejqu n-nies b'mod żbaljat. Iktar u iktar jekk kienu jibqgħu id-dar u ma kellhom il-ħadd illi jippruvaw jaraw kif kien jfiqu. Jekk jużaw il-ventilators ġewwa l-isptar, dana mhux talli ma jgħinx, talli qed jikkaġuna ħafna problemi serji anki mowt. U għax it-trombosi jiġi għar minn flok jippruvaw jgħinuh. Ġifieri l-argument tagħhom huwa da, ġifieri it-treatment huwa problema. Saqsejnihom x'tip ta' treatments jirrekomandaw, għallu jekk it-trombosis huwa fi fażi primarja il-heparin li jista' jintuża, qed jgħidu huma, ovvjament mhux qed ngħid jien bħala avukat, jiena nittraduċi. Jekk it-trombos huwa iktar avvanzat, jiġifieri dak bil-Ingliż jgħidu organized, ikun ifforma ruħu, hemm trattament ieħor li jissejjaħ urocanus, jekk smajtu sew. Ovvjament it-tobba jafu bihom dawn. Dana bażikament li qed jgħid, jiġifieri treatments hemm ħafna żbalji li qed isiru fil-treatments żbaljati. Ovvjament jiena naħseb eventwalment ħanaslu wkoll għal vaccines, imma importanti li nkunu nafu jekk hemm xi treatments diġà eżistenti.
As part of this program, I receive SMSs, and I've already started receiving SMSs, and I would like to read some of them to you so that you can answer. One of them, I think you've already answered it, because the person who sent it told me to ask you, can Dr. Montanari explain what are the findings for a better diagnostic tools and therapies that are being conducted, if any, by the Military and Civil National Scientists Committee in Italy? What are the findings of the military and civil national committees in Italy? And then he makes a comment, because word is being pushed only by Bill Gates Foundation. Therefore, obviously, this is a criticism to who.
Cosa c'è?
But let's start with the first one. What in this case of therapies is being done in Italy, especially by the military and civil National Scientist Committee?
No, they
In hospital.
in Italy, they are as wrong as in Malta. So they do things that are absolutely useless or harmful. So let's not speak of what they do in Italy. Let's speak rather what they should do. First thing to do is to check the lungs and see if there are blood clots or thrombi inside the pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary arteries contain venous blood, if you have blood clots or thrombi in those vessels, you should administer urokinase. There is no other way to do it. So a good radiologist should be able to tell you if you need urokinase or the problem is something different. If you don't have a good radiologist in Malta, in Italy, in the United States, on the moon, you will never be able to issue a correct diagnosis. That's all. But it's very easy. It's very easy to do. You just have to have a good radiologist available. That's all.
If I can interject at this point, it's worth noting that in November, a number of persons in Malta issued a judicial protest against the the Minister of Health and the Superintendent of Health. And one of the things that we had stated was that as a result of autopsies carried out in Italy and in Germany, it resulted that thrombosis was a major factor. And we called upon the government to look into this and to start checking whether it was the case also in Malta that there were cases of thrombosis, and if so, to treat them. Unfortunately, we have not got a reply to the effect that this has been happening. It might be happening, of course, I cannot say, but we asked for the information, we were not given that information. And also...
Say it in Maltese.
Nista' nirrepeti bil-Malti illi fuq di ta' trombosi meta ppreżentajna l-protest ġudizzjarju f'Novembru, l-11 ta' Novembru, wieħed mill-fatti li semmejna huwa illi kien hemm riżultati ta' autopsi ġewwa l-Ġermanja u l-Italja fejn irriżulta illi ħafna nies li kienu mietu bil-COVID, kważi l-maġġoranza kbira ta' dawk il-gażijiet taħt l-autopsja kienu mietu minħabba trombosi bħala il-main factor ġifieri, u għalhekk tlabna lill-gvern biex jidħol fiha biex jindaga biex jara jekk kienx il-każ illi f'Malta in-nies kienu jmutu hekk ukoll bl-istess minħabba l-istess raġuni, u biex ovvjament jaraw x'tip ta' treatment irid ikun hemm għat-trombosi. U aħna qatt ma kellna risposta fuq għadi.
The next question I received, which is also a question that I'm sure you are capable to answer, because also was one of the reasons why they told me to invite you in my program. What's your positions on the vaccine? The question is this: can you please clarify whether it is advisable or not to take the vaccine?
Well, as a matter of fact, vaccines do not exist. They do. I'm positive. You know, if you have some notions of pharmacology, which seems not to be the case with politicians, you know that what is proposed as a vaccine, what is called a vaccine, is not a vaccine at all. Because a vaccine, to be a vaccine in its own right, must contain the pathogen, must contain the virus in any form, but it must contain it. So what the concoction they are administering now, they are distributing now, has nothing to do with the vaccine, because it does not contain the pathogen, does not contain the virus in any form. The drugs, plural, that are available nowadays are something that has to do with the genetics of the subject. So it is something. It's an order that messenger RNA issues to cells, not to, let's say, not to accept the virus inside themselves, inside cells. But this is not a vaccine. That is something that they are experimenting now, and they are, we have no information about it. Pharmaceutical industries have no information about it. So we just need people volunteers to experiment those drugs. That's all. But the only thing that we know is that in a number of cases they killed the patient. They killed the patient. The substance that happened in Italy, even with policemen, for example, they had the shot and they were killed by the shot. Or, for example, they have reactions like really terrible headaches that last for days and days, and there are no drugs for those headaches. Or some of them are paralyzed. Some of them are paralyzed, for example, in their face. Half of their face drops, or they are paralyzed in their legs, for example. So there are a lot of reactions that
Dr. Montanari
shouldn't be there, because there are, we have no experience of it. That's all.
Dr. Montanari, from our research, we see that the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System in the United States, has reported that over 2,300 persons have died within a day or 2 or 3 days of taking a vaccine, within a few days. Can you comment on this, and do you know if there are statistics in Italy of how many people have died following the vaccine? And do you have any information on why they might have died, or whether the Italian authorities have isolated which cases are linked to the vaccine and which cases are not?
We have no information, because all information is hidden, it's concealed. For example, we have people here in Italy, even in the town we live in, that committed suicide, and they are calculated, they are counted as died from COVID, but they committed suicide. There are people we know that died of myocardial infarction. That's COVID. We have no cancer anymore. If you died from cancer, you died from COVID.
What about influenza?
So, all statistics are false.
What about influenza statistics?
Flu has disappeared. Absolutely.
This effect, yes.
We have no trace of flu anymore.
Is that possible scientifically?
No, absolutely not.
No, because, excuse me, the argument that is being made is that flu disappeared because we started using the masks.
So then why doesn't COVID disappear?
Only an idiot can say something like that. Because if the mask can stop the virus of influenza, why doesn't it stop coronavirus?
COVID.
Why?
Precisely. Yes.
So
No, but the argument, the counter-argument, I'm not a doctor, would be because the coronavirus is not the virus of influenza, it's a different virus, and it's even a more terrible virus, let's put it that way.
Why does the mask protect against one?
The size is identical. So if you stop, if a mask or if a filter or whatever can catch a flu virus, it can catch equally the same way it catch a coronavirus, because they belong to the same family, they have the same size. So what they say is something idiot. So they should be ashamed, and people who believe that
Not only.
are stupid.
Not only, but we analyzed, we investigated this type of mask under a scanning electron microscope. So the net of this mask is wide, and a virus can go through freely.
What?
The mask give you another problem.
Just give me a minute.
The resistance to inhalation and to exhalation.
Just give me,
This is another problem.
Dottoressa Gatti, give me a moment. Li għattejt il-dottoressa Gatti li hija eżaminaw il-maskla taħt mikroskopju, under a microscope, u sabu li it-toqob li kunem fid-drab ħannejda tal-maskla, il-virus jista' jgħaddi minnhom, vordiri għaliex huwa tant kemm mużejr li jippenetra minn ġol maskla. Il-virus kien può penetrare dalla maskera.
Yes. And many years ago, we investigated on a special filter to stop nanoparticles. And coronavirus, every virus is a nanoparticles. The dimension is in the field of nano. That it is the first problem. And we obtained a filter to stop nanoparticles, especially in war fields, after explosions and so on. And we verified that the texture must be very compact, and it is impossible to run with this type of filter, this type of mask.
But
so
just
the mask you use, the surgical mask,
it's not good.
are not a valid filters.
Yes,
Just give me a minute. Li qalet dottoressa Gattija li il-maskla biex tkun tajba biex ma jgħaddix virus minna trid tkun magħmula b'tali mod li mbagħad inti qas tista' tilbisax ma tkunx tista' tieħu nnifsu biha. Vordiri daw is-surgical mask li qed nużaw mhumiex suffiċjenti biex ma jħallux il-virus jgħaddi. Dik hija li
U semmitu ukoll illi jekk tilbes il-maskla jista' jkun hemm impatti negattivi u kienet qed tispjega forsi tista' tkompli tispjega daqsxejn.
Can you continue, Dottoressa Gatti, explaining the negative impacts, l-impatti negattivi
Of using the mask long term.
Yes, because the mask oppose a resistance to inhalation and also exhalation. And part of the CO2 that you exhale remain in the space, the body space between the mouth and the mask. So at the next inhalation act, you inhale not only air, normal air with oxygen, but also the CO2 that you exhaled, and that can induce an acidosis of the blood. And that can cause a headache and other symptoms.
Can they be serious?
Especially if you wear the mask for 8 or 10 hours a day. That it is a problem. And our cells need oxygen. Believe me.
So my question is, with long use, what could be the actual long-term negative effects? And here in Malta, the law right now is that if you leave your car or your house, you have to wear a mask all the time. As far as I know, in Italy, it's not like that. It's only when you are in proximity to others. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But here, you have to wear it all the time. So there are people who are wearing them for hours on end, even if they are at work or whatever. So what could be the negative effects? You said acidosis. Can you elaborate a bit?
What is acidosis?
Acidosis means that your body is more acidic than it should be. So it contains more
Electrolytes.
hydrogen ions from the chemical point of view. So it's more acidic than it should be. That is an excellent terrain for cancer. So in Malta, you'll see the consequence in about 10 to 20 years. You'll have a very, very steep increase in cancer. Write it down, and in 20 years, you'll see that unfortunately, I'm right. You will have lots of cancer cases, and you'll have to thank your politicians.
Wait, li għetjajt, għax għamel punt importanti, għalinna ktiba, write it down. U għetjajt li jek minħabba dal-użu twil tal-mask li ġowiċna, ħajwassal li minn fi żmien 10 snin, 20 sena oħra, ir-rati ta' persuna li ħajmirdu bil-kanser ħajżdied ħafna. U xek naqblu għal?
Ekku qed jgħid.
Minħabba l-użu permanenti tal-maskla.
Ekku, u jiena tlabtu wkoll jiċċar jekk l-Italja fejn għandhom regolamenti stretti ħafna drabi iktar minna, il-regolamenti tal-maskli mhumiex stretti daqstana għax huma obbligati jużaw il-maskli biss meta jkunu ħdejn ħaddieħor. So I'm just to clarify again what the situation is in Italy regarding the regulations on wearing the masks. Do you have to wear the mask all the time or only when you are in proximity with people? If you are in the countryside alone, for example, or in the street all alone, or on a beach all alone, do you have to wear the mask? Because here, if you are on your own on a beach,
you still have to wear
they will come and they will fine you, €300 now.
Yeah, the fact in Italy, the situation in Italy is pretty ridiculous, because we are supposed to wear a mask only when we are with other people. For example, in a bus, in a train, in a shop. But most people wear them when they are alone in their car, when they are alone in a wood, on the beach, in places where beaches are open. Because, for example, in Naples, you cannot go, you are not allowed to reach the beach. And people, if you are in school, you are supposed to wear a mask. I don't wear it. For example, nobody fined me, but people generally use masks even if they are not compelled to, they are not obliged to do it, because they, the worst problem with COVID is fear, is terror. So people are afraid, are scared, and they are convinced that if they wear a mask, they will not grow sick, they will not grow ill, which is, of course, the opposite, because the more you wear a mask, the more you will get the pathology, which is not necessarily COVID, because there is not only COVID in the list of diseases. We have many other diseases, and people are weaker and weaker because they cannot stay live in the open air, which is necessary for the metabolism of vitamin D. They are depressed, and you know that depression causes or it helps getting sick, getting ill, and people are worried because their business are going wrong, and they are losing their savings, they are losing their job, and so they are, unfortunately, there are lots of problems that cause disease. So what you should do is you should leave open air, you be under the sun, you must bask in the sun, you should eat correctly, you should take you should have the right intake of natural vitamins, not artificial ones. So you should do exactly the opposite of what they order you to do.
Just I'm receiving a number of SMSs, and I'm going to read you some so that you can react to them. I'm going to read 3 or 4, and then you make a summary. And the first one, he is saying that they are referring to you, that we have to fight COVID like any other contagious illness. Then a second person who wrote to me,
what is the question?
No, it's more than a question, it's more a comment. Practically, he said that what you are suggesting is that the government or us, we should fight COVID as it was another type of a contagious disease.
Of course.
Then, sorry, I'm just. Dun.Ġwann, you had a question for? Our director has a question for you.
Bil-Malti.
Yes, and they will translate.
Yes. Jien nixtieq nidentifika ġifieri il-COVID mhux ma jeżistix. Il-COVID skont ma smajt illejla huwa tip ta' trombosi.
What he's saying, he's saying the cause is the COVID is not a question that COVID does not exist, but the COVID is a type of thrombosis? No. Therefore, it causes thrombosis.
It causes thrombosis. Therefore,
Ejta bil-Malti.
Mela għaliex ġifieri dan il-virus. U virus x'inhu dan?
Iva, virus.
Virus.
Bħal-influenza virus.
Bħal-influenza ġifieri dana meta dan jittieħed din il-biċċ tax-xogħol.
He's asking whether it is a contagious disease. It is.
It is.
Yes,
absolutely. Yes.
It is. Therefore, how do you protect?
Therefore, how we're going? This is a question. Therefore, if we're faced with this COVID, with this virus, how should we protect ourselves from it?
By eating the correct food. We, for example, we
Billi wieħed jikol l-ikel tajjeb, korrett.
Ma dan jittieħed, ġifieri minn wieħed tal-oħra, allura jittieħed.
Iva, contagious disease jittieħed.
Allura sewwa l-maskli?
Le, l-maskli xejn qed
Mela x'inhu biex nipprevenu.
There are two things. How should we prevent ourselves from this virus then?
Yeah, this is
to answer you.
This is the question I was trying to answer. If
Yes.
they don't interrupt me,
You're right.
So, we have a system in our body. It's natural. God, if you believe in God, gave it to us. So we have a sort of army inside our body that defends us against all diseases, all infectious diseases. So we prepare, for example, but there are lots of ways to make it stronger. We prepared some natural, let's say, drugs, but they are not really drugs. They are natural preparations to have our immunitary system strong, to make it stronger. Well, they are available. You can have it. Lots of Italian people take them, and none of them got the disease. I'm not saying that they make miracles, but they work. So then you have to live exactly the way you lived 10 years ago. You have to walk, you have to be in the sun, you have to breathe air, you have to work, you have to do what you have done all your life. So you have to do the opposite of what you are obliged to do now. If you do the opposite, you are healthy.
Yes, but can we meet people? If we the restrictions that we cannot socialize, we cannot meet people. Therefore, can we meet?
Is it possible to meet people?
Meeting people is essential because the virus has to circulate.
But if you meet people, you get COVID.
No. Listen. Of course you get COVID, but 99% of people have COVID in their organism, in their body, and it doesn't make any harm because it's just a virus like any other virus. Me, I probably have it in my body. It doesn't do anything to me. We host a huge quantity, a huge variety of viruses in our body without any problem. And that is what these viruses will do. You know what mortality is? The worldwide mortality means official mortality is 0.2%, 0.2%. So it's lower than the mortality of any flu. So it's nothing.
Just 1 minute, I will translate. Li qed jgħid il-virus il-mortalità tiegħu is 0.2% li hija inqas mill-mortalità ta' li konna fi f'influenza normali. F'influenza normali jkun hemm rata ta' mortalità aktar għolja minn 0.2%. Fordi inti meta dejjem għandek tip ta' influenza dejjem ħajkollok mortalità magħha, vordi ħajkollok nies li qed imutu minnha.
Il-Malta 400 died. Therefore, these 400 died. They died of COVID.
Wait.
Of COVID or with COVID?
This is the question. It's of COVID. She's telling you, dawk li mietu, Dun.Ġwann saqsija mistoqsija, 400 mietu bil-COVID. U qaltlek, daw mietu bil-COVID, jew għax kellhom xi ħaġa oħra mal-COVID. Allura għandek xi ħaġa differenti.
Also that also in Italy we had many dead people, but the mean age of the died people is 82.2 years. That means that the people with other symptoms or other diseases, when they had the COVID, they died. but they died not from COVID, but with COVID, because they had other diseases. That is the problem. Not only, but we had also dead people because they were left alone at home. We have many friends, medical doctors, who go to the private houses because they believe that if the flu is cured at the beginning, they can stop the trend, the little trend.
Well, I'm going to read you a number of messages that I received. One of them I'm going to read it in Maltese because she's saying I am عندي 73 سنة, I am a 73-year-old person, and therefore, according to the Department of Health, I am a vulnerable person. But until today, they have not yet sent for me to be vaccinated, despite the fact that I brought this to the attention of the authorities by phoning 145. And she's saying that they deceived me. They didn't send for me. Obviously, she's a woman that she would like to get vaccinated. Okay, that is her right. We have nothing against it. You want to comment something on it?
Yes, it's strange because only today I received an SMS from the Department of Health telling me that I have an appointment for the first shot and another appointment for the second shot, which I am not going to take because I prefer to follow the natural method. But as we said, it depends on the individual choice. But I'm not 72 or 73 years old.
I will ask you.
And yet I've already been informed that I have these appointments. So it sounds very strange.
I'm going to ask you a number of questions that I'm receiving from the televiewers. I appreciate that you're concise because we have just 15, 20 minutes more.
And maybe we could talk a bit about the vaccine.
And the vaccine, but it's about, yes, it's practically most of them about the vaccine. Can you ask him, no, I'm asking you, if it is true that a person without symptoms can have the virus or even can spread the virus, please and thanks. Therefore, if you don't have the symptoms, you can still have the virus?
Of course. You know that in your body, you probably have many million viruses of different quality, different types. You have millions of them without any problem. I believe that at least 50, 60, 70% of population have COVID in their body, but without any problem, without any symptoms. So,
and if they don't have symptoms, are they in a position where they can also transmit the virus to others?
No, if you have no symptoms, you don't transmit anything because to be able to transmit the virus, you must have a certain concentration of viruses in your body. If you have no symptoms, it means that you have no viruses concentrated enough, so you are not infectious.
Okay. Għatjajt li m'għandekx is-sintomi tal-COVID m'intix persuna li tista' titrasmetti l-disease, m'intix tkun infettiv.
Għax m'għandekx biżejjed.
That does not mean that you don't have the virus in your body. You do have it, but it's just
small quantities.
Small harmless. Another question. Can we feel safe with the swab tests that she said that are being produced in China? Irrelevant when they are produced. Can we feel safe with the swab tests that we're making?
The tamponi, are the tamponi safe?
No, the swabs don't mean anything. You know, the inventor of the system about 35 years ago or more said that you cannot use them to issue a diagnosis. So it's it's a swindle. They don't give you any information, so they shouldn't be used.
In fact, there was a
They shouldn't
peer.
use because they don't give you any answer you can trust. So they don't mean anything.
Another,
Not only, but they can be manipulated.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is known that the 95% of the tests are false positives. So that means that the system is not accurate. If you have many cycles of the instruments, you can increase the amplification of some pieces, parts of RNA. So they say you are positive, but not. The PCR test is valid only after 20 cycles. In Italy, we have also 40 cycles, so everybody is positive. But there is another problem due to the swaps. There are many types. We analyzed them under the scanning electron microscope. So there are some swaps made with cotton. They are mild, soft. But there are new ones made in China, of course, and they are very particular because they contain glassy fibers. So they scratch the internal mucosa. They can cause bleeding and they can cause lesions, especially if they are made in a chronic way. That means that the tissue sometimes cannot repair itself. So you have problems due to this scratching. Also, these glassy fibers can be broken inside the nose, inside the throat. So they can induce granulomatosis, fibrosis of the tissues. So they are not safe, especially if you make in children. So I hope that this the use of swabs is not made on babies, because it is not safe. In a case of a swab, we found fibers of silicon zirconium. It is a very strange type of glassy fibers. Not only, but they contained also nanoparticles of silver. So it is a strange mixture, and I am a material scientist, and I don't understand very well the use of these very hard glassy fibers on a mucosa.
Let's continue asking how, because I'm receiving a lot of messages, and I would like...
When I can, maybe I have an important question for them. I'd like to also. Thank you.
Immediately after this one. Someone wrote back telling about Herapin, and she said that Herapin, urokinase, streptom, ikinase, sorry if I'm pronouncing the names of these medicines wrongly, are being used at Mater Dei in our hospitals. Therefore, but still, we're still having deaths. That's my reflection.
You know, it depends on
She's a
how
frontliner.
they use it. It's like, let's take a tennis player. So you say you have Djokovic, #1 in the world, that uses the same racket as you use. So it's still a racket. It depends on how you use it.
Your question?
So yes, my question is also there's a comment that if those are being used, they could maybe be used well, but I think the problem might be if they're also using ventilators.
I'm not a doctor.
The issue I
will not comment.
The issue might be with ventilators, which we need to look into. But
Yeah,
my
probably.
question is that earlier on, you said that the vaccines being rolled out relating to COVID-19 do not resemble the standard format of vaccines, but also you stated that they are at an experimental phase because they are a new technology. So can you please elaborate on this and make it clear for people what they actually are? Because people here in Malta seem to get the impression that these vaccines are not at an experimental phase anymore, that they've been given the go-ahead and therefore they can take them because they are guaranteed to work. Do you think they're guaranteed to work? And if they are experimental, can you elaborate on that and explain what that means for people? Are they part of the experiment?
Yes, yes. So, the fact that they are experimental is very, very clear because the pharmaceutical industries themselves said that the first results will not be issued before 2025, 24, 25. So we have still to wait for a few years before having some, not all, but some answers. So they are just experimenting them on the population.
What about long-term effects?
The industries themselves that say it freely. So people can believe what they want, of course. You can believe in Father Christmas, in whatever you want. But the fact is that nobody knows anything about those vaccines. Nobody, because there are no data available. Absolutely none.
EMA, the European Medicinal Agency, gave an approval, a special approval for the commercialization of these vaccines for the emergency. So they accepted that the experimentation was not finished, only for the emergency, but they are awaiting for other results. But the results are us. We are the results. Sorry.
So, it's a bit difficult to, and it's a bit long to explain why vaccines are not experimented. No vaccine has ever been experimented since the beginning of vaccination. None of them. From the pharmacological point, I don't know if we have the time and you have the patience to
very short because I have.
But it's pretty long to understand. But vaccines are not experimented because they cannot be experimented. Because technically speaking, experimentation is impossible. Impossible. If you want me, if you give me a few minutes, it's a bit long, probably it's a bit boring, but I can explain why it's technically impossible to make experiments on vaccines. And when they say that they are experimenting a vaccine, they are telling a lie.
But it is very simple to understand. It is sufficient that you read the technical data sheet of Pfizer, Moderna, and so on. So there are many parts about, for instance, fertility, and they say we have no data sufficient to tell you something.
Yeah, on fertility, on pregnancy, they don't know anything. They write it. They write very honestly. They write it. They write honestly. We don't know anything. It's written. People don't read the notice. But
just
they write it. They
Liet
say we don't know anything.
li qed jgħidu li il-vaccines qatt ma jista' jkun fuq fażi sperimentali, vordiri qed nifhmu sew l-argument. U qed jgħid ukoll li hemm jekk inti tara xejdula il-literature ikun hemm numru ta' punti fil-dal-vaccin li qed nieħdu li għadhom ma jafux huma il-konsegwenzi ħannejtek fuq affarijiet bħal meta fuq tqala u fuq pożizzjonijiet oħra u fuq sitwazzjonijiet oħra. Ħa naqralek, I'm going to read you a number of messages that I received. Well done, some of them are thanking you, well done to present the other side, which begs to be heard. The truth is so obvious that one thinks the overarching agenda is heinous to our society. This is for you, can this program be aired again? There is going to be a repetition of this program, and this is going to be on Saturday. Then, can you sanitize masks, this person is saying, after they dry and wear it again? Obviously, you can you sanitize the mask, but you say the masks are useless.
No, I don't understand what is sanitize. Sorry, when you use a surgical mask, you have that you deposit in the internal part also the bacteria of your mouth, and after you inhale them. And in many cases, we verified that the patient developed pneumonia disease or lung disease because they inhaled the bacteria, the vapor, but also the internal fibers that compose the mask, because these masks are made probably in China, in India, I don't know. So the texture is not really compact. So some fibers and dirty particles are in the internal part, and you inhale also them.
What
Sorry.
Wait.
I use a mask because it is imposed, but my mask is completely different because I use a mask FP2, but with the valve for the exit of the CO2. This mask is inside another net made of active carbon fibers.
What?
Not only, but I sprayed also with nanosilver particles. So then it is a mask that can defend against viruses and so on, but not as a surgical mask. So I don't say that the mask doesn't serve, please. I say that you must use the right mask.
Li għattejt di, il-mask tista' s-servi u tejnek, vordiri, imma tittuża l-mask li tajbin, ħafna mill-mask li qed jiġu prodotti mhuma tajbin xejn, għandhom particles fihom li jista' jwasslu biex anki qabdu pneumonia. Dak li qed tgħid ħafna minnhom, imma ovvjament, biex qed titkellem kontra l-mask li di qed tgħidlek isma' hemm ċertu maskli professjonali ħafna bħalma tużaj li għandhom anki valġo fihom, imma ħafna mill-mask li qed nużaw surgical mask li qed nixtru huma prodotti ta' kwalità ħażina ħafna li jista' anki waslu biex qablu pneumonia.
U jekk jiswew biss meta inti għandek kuntatt man-nies, mhux meta tkun waħdek, għax waħdek għandek bżonn l-arja friska.
Le, dik anki maskla tajba, forsi m'għandekx għalfejn il-beżeg.
Le, għax qed tagħmel iktar ħsara qegħdin jgħidu milli ġid.
Do you answer this question for people to understand better? The use of masks for a long time causes symptoms due to inhaling impurities. This is what you are stating.
Well,
okay?
More or less,
of one's own body. Is this a correct interpretation?
So I try to explain.
Very short, because I don't know if I will read all these messages, because I'm supposed to be closing the program.
listen, you breathe in your waste. That's all. So when you breathe, you have to inhale, to take in oxygen, and you have to push out carbon dioxide, CO2.
And other waste.
What you do with the mask, you breathe in your carbon dioxide, which is poison to cells, which is poison to blood, which is poison to your organism, which is the right field for cancer. That's all. You are preparing your body to develop cancer. That's all. So if you don't believe me, come back in 10 to 20 years and you'll see that, well, you'll see what will happen in Malta, in Italy, in the States, wherever masks are compulsory. You'll see it. 10 to 20 years.
Qed jgħid li f'dawk il-pajjiżi kif ġal qabel fejn il-maskli huma compulsory f'10-20 sena ħajkun hawn rata li ħajżviluppa rata qawwija ta' kanser. Ġast kemm naqla messaġġi li deħlin, I'm going just to read a number of messages and then you just make a general summary as a conclusion. So having heard what is being said, how can these worldwide multitude of deaths be explained and the long-term effects of COVID infection itself? Naħseb ġa spjega fuq dan il-punt matul il-programm. And despite vaccine may be experimental, how can all these waves of deaths and infected people be stopped if not through the use of these vaccines? Jekk il-vaccin fatt il-vaccin mhux qed jirnexxielu waqqaf il-flu, because the vaccine is not stopping the flu, because there were people who took the vaccine 1 and 2 died still of the flu, and there are people who took the vaccine and still got the flu. Therefore, this is a point that I will make, but even if I'm not a doctor. Thank you, Dottoressa Gatti and Dr. Montanari. Finally, someone who speaks truth and makes sense. We have come to the nonsensical state when we have to wear masks all the time, but we can take them off to smoke a cigarette. This is the situation he's just commenting.
I have a question, please. I want to ask you a question. I have got a relative of mine in hospital because of COVID. Can you tell me now if I don't know whether you know what's being done in our hospitals, I don't know. But what do you suggest to him? He is in hospital now, and I don't know why now. What your suggestion to get cured of COVID?
And I have a last question as well. I can pose. Maybe you can then answer all of them.
For example, there is another message here about ivermectin. I don't know whether I am ivermectin.
Non sappiamo.
No, they have never heard of ivermectin.
No answer.
No answer.
No answer. For the
Can you tell me, please, what this relative of mine?
Yes, they're going to answer. They're going to answer them together.
I want to look at this. I want to know, a relative of mine is in hospital now. I don't know whether he's hearing you. He is with COVID now. What are your suggestions to him as a doctor?
Can you answer that?
Can you answer?
What? We didn't hear the.
Yes,
We didn't hear the question.
the question.
Can you repeat the question?
I have a relative of mine who you are not hearing.
Shall I?
Hearing? No, they're
Shall
not
I-
hearing you.
Cam, shall I pose the question? He asked, he said he's got a relative in hospital who is suffering and was tested positive for COVID. And what do you suggest could be done to help him by way of treatment?
Nothing. You have to do nothing.
Is he symptomatic?
No, he's in hospital. So he has symptoms. He has symptoms.
Symptoms.
Ah,
means
yes,
symptoms.
of course. If you have symptoms, you can stay at home like you do for any other flu, and in a week or two you recover.
But
Did
he's
you
in
not
hospital.
99.9% of the cases.
If you don't have other pathologies.
Of course, because if you have thrombosis, which is pretty rare, but it happens, you must cure thrombosis like any other thrombosis. We know that kind of thrombosis, we have known it for about 150 years. It was, as I said, it was discovered
Yes,
by a French doctor called Trousseau in the 19th century. So we know how to cure it. We just do it.
So if I can,
we just use it.
so if I can relay the answer, Dun.Ġwann, I think he's saying that your relative needs to request a screening to see if he might have thrombosis, because if he does, then he needs to have the
be cured
thrombosis
for
treated.
thrombosis.
For thrombosis,
Just-
because he said if it's
COVID
just
creates
COVID
thrombosis.
without thrombosis, then he should be able to use other things he mentioned earlier, like high doses of vitamin C. But he needs to see if he needs to screen for thrombosis, because if he has thrombosis, then he needs to treat the thrombosis. Not just to stay at home. They're saying you have to see whether he might have thrombosis. Because if he has thrombosis and they send him home, it could be worse.
In fact, this is what even suggesting this hospital is a serious case. If the pathology is developed, even the medical world here in Malta, dak li qed jgħidulek it-tobba, jekk ikollok il-COVID u ma m'għandekx patoloġija u nibqa' d-dar. Biex hekk qed jgħidu anke t-tobba.
Trid tara s-sintomi u
Sintomi.
trid tiddressja s-sintomi.
What's your opinion that COVID was created in a laboratory?
We don't know anything about it. We know that it has been patented in 2015, but we don't know anything because we are not virologists. We are scientists in another field, so we don't know anything about it.
Someone is asking for the name of the second medicine, herpin, or what? Sorry if I'm not spelling it.
I think you said urokinus, I think you said it
Urokinus.
was.
Yeah.
Correct?
In Italian, it's urokinase. Urokinase in English.
Right.
What's your position about WHO? Because obviously what you're saying goes totally against what WHO is saying, the World Health Organization.
I'd rather not answer.
Obviously, someone has asked me whether you have taken the vaccine.
Vaccine simply does not exist, as I tried to explain. What is proposed, what is imposed, has nothing to do with vaccines. It's something different because it does not contain the virus, which technically means that this is not a vaccine. But of course, if you don't know pharmacology, you
No, I don't know
you can't
pharmacology.
understand this.
So if I can place my question, there's a lot of talk now about variants to the original strains. And also talk that the vaccines, whatever they are, might not be effective against the variants. So are we seeing a scenario where people might be requested to be taking these new vaccines or adjusted vaccines every year, like the influenza vaccines, and all of them are still experimental? So do we have a scenario where you're taking experimental vaccines every year?
It's possible that every year you must repeat the dose. It's
Yeah.
possible, but you must know that the variants, sorry, are from Brazil, South Africa, and UK. And there are the area where Pfizer made the clinical trials of his vaccine. So there is a possibility, it is only an hypothesis, but some virologists share this hypothesis, that the variants are
A result of the vaccines.
It's a sort of
the
fusion.
combination, the fusion.
It's a fusion of the RNA of the vaccine, or the so-called vaccine, and the RNA of the virus itself.
Is inside the cell, inside your cell.
Yeah. There are some virologists who share these hypotheses.
I have a question in Italian by someone from Italy who is following you here in Malta. She wrote Buonasera da Gozzo, and she gave us the name. I'm not going.
Gozo, we know Gozo. We know,
Nicoletta, you know some Nicoletta and Gabriele. I will stop here.
Okay.
She asked me this, Dottor Montanari, come mai lo chiamano vaccino, ma invece è un mRNA? Ok? Come mai non si può fare causa per avversioni?
You want me to answer in English or in Italian?
You can answer in Italian but succinctly, sure. And then I will translate. Or else
In Italian. So, vaccino è una parola molto comoda perché i vaccini non hanno nessuna responsabilità civile e penale. Quindi il produttore dei vaccini può uccidere impunemente chiunque senza subire conseguenze. Il vaccino non è controllato da nessuno, sono 35 anni che nessuno controlla i vaccini. I vaccini non devono cercare clienti perché i clienti sono obbligati a essere clienti. Quindi se io chiamo un farmaco vaccino, ho tutti questi privilegi, che sono privilegi legali e privilegi commerciali.
Come hanno sintetizzato questi vaccini è un problema di nanomedicina e quindi si dovevano fare tutte le prove di nanotossicologia che a mio avviso non sono state fatte. E il chiamarlo vaccino è molto più comodo e poi si elude la legge, cioè si hanno altri percorsi, come abbiamo visto, molto accelerati.
E molto privilegiati.
The last question and then I will have the concluding remarks.
Should I translate in Maltese?
Okay.
Since it was... Okay, mela, malajr, għetijiet illi huwa komdu ħafna illi jissejjaħ vaccine għaliex automatikament skont il-liġijiet li hemm huma eżenti minn dak li jissejjaħ product liability, ma jkunux responsabbli għall-effetti tal-prodott tagħhom għax għandhom dik il-waiver mill-liġi. Apparti minn hekk, il-vaccines ukoll m'hemmx sistema li qed jiġu kontrollati ilu hekk 35 sena. M'għandhomx bżonn illi jippromovu il-prodotti tagħhom għal pazjenti għax il-liġijiet ifissru illi n-nies jkunu jew obbligati jew tkun parti mill-proċedura tal-istat li sibilhom il-pazjenti, ġifri għandhom sales automatiċi u allura għandhom ħafna privileġġi legali kif ukoll kummerċjali. L-aħħar ħaġa li kummentat Dr. Gatti qalet illi dil forma ta' mediċina hija nanomediċina u għalhekk għandu jkun hemm testijiet ta' studji tossikoloġiċi fuq bażi fuq livell ta' nano, ġifieri nanotoxicology tests li ma sarux. Ġifieri jista' jagħti l-każ li jkun hemm ħafna tossiċi li qed jirriżultaw mill-nanotechnology imma dawn it-testijiet għadhom ma sarux.
L-ultima domanda, the last question. The effects of masks, you already spoke about it, but on children. Someone asked me, because children at schools are
in Malta,
being
they have
forced
to wear,
in Malta,
they have to wear masks
all
at school.
At schools throughout the whole day at school.
It's
We have,
criminal.
So you have physical problems, we have social problems and psychological problems.
They can create physical problems, social problems, and
Psychological.
psychological. Tal-moħ, tal-fiziċi, fil-ġisem,
Especially in children.
soċjali, fit-tfal. I would like to thank you for being with us. It has been a marathon, nearly 2 hours. I had a number of comments coming, asking me why there weren't people from the medical side who are on the different position to debate with you. That would perhaps can be on another occasion. If you would like, I will get someone who is on the other side, so that will create a debate. Incidentally, I couldn't do that because of restrictions, because the studio was small, and therefore I cannot have more than one person in the studio. And I wanted Rudolf to be with me because he was the person also who arranged for this meeting with you and others, but he was very instrumental. But of course, on my side, I have no problems, and I am sure you don't have any problems to have another person on the other side of the political fence who believe in COVID and has perhaps a totally different position from yours to debate with him. I'm saying it correct or not?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Therefore, that could be an invitation if you're more than ready to be with my program for next time to have someone on the other side. So
Next time we come directly to Malta.
Okay, that would be nice.
So
It will have the
many years ago, I ran the Malta Marathon. So
Okay.
I know Malta.
That's good.
Well,
But we need to find someone on the other side of the debate, because so far they have not accepted to debate with us. It seems like they seem to be afraid.
But I can find, but
Because
the
some
people,
members of the media have tried to make these debates. I have said I am available, but so far in 3-4 months they have not come to accept
even
the debate.
for us, for example, invited even the Minister of Health to come on our program.
They haven't accepted.
And haven't accepted that.
I'm very happy also to debate. So
debate,
if you have
yes.
someone available, I'm also happy to come, and obviously the scientists too. So really the ball is in their court if they have the courage to debate.
On my side, I will close the program, and obviously then perhaps the last thought before I close about natural products, prodotti naturali.
we made.
I know it's your area too.
Yeah, we made four products that are commercially available. They work. They are natural. They can be bought. In Malta, there are people who already use them in Malta, and they work. They have no side effects. They can be bought through a site called freehealthacademy.shop. freehealthacademy.shop. You can see them there, and you can buy them from that site.
Okay, thank you very much all, for having accepted to be with us today. I sincerely and heartily thank you, and for our next meeting.
Okay.
And it's going to be here in Malta, therefore it's not going to be through Zoom, but physically in the studio. Thanks very much for accepting, and good night. Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Nirringrazzjakom li kontu miegħi u li segwejtuni u ma' kważi maratora ta' satej għadhom deħlin il-messaġġi ta' nies li għadhom jibatunna il-messaġġi minħabba dan il-programm, jiena nerġa' nkun magħkom bħallum ġimgħa fl-istess ħin fit-8:30. Il-lejl tajjeb.
Matul il-kriżi tal-coronavirus, il-Fondazzjoni EU qed tappella għall-għajnuna tiegħek sabiex tkompli xxandar ir-rożarju u l-qudies ta' kuljum flimkien ma' xandiriet oħra reliġjużi fuq it-televiżjoni u online. Peress li matul dan il-perjodu ta' kriżi ma nistgħux niġbru reklami u l-ispejjeż dejjem jikbru, qegħdin nappellaw lilkom telespettaturi sabiex tgħinuna inkomplu nxandru. Bid-donazzjoni tagħkom tkunu qegħdin tgħinuna sabiex inwaslulkom il-Knisja fid-djar tagħkom. ċemplu fuq 51502025 għal donazzjoni ta' €5 jew fuq 51602042 għal donazzjoni ta' €10. Nirringrazzjawkom tad-donazzjonijiet tagħkom.